Welcome to ATME College of Engineering, and I welcome to the Advait AVR ATME Aptitude Training Skills. Now, success to aptitude is achieved by brain teaser is the solving puzzles, analysis, consistency, time management, conceptual clarity, and then success to aptitude is been achieved. Brain teaser in the sense solving more number of problems so that it increases our sharpness in our mind. Analysis is we have to analyze the problem quickly. Consistency is achieving success in solving a problem, and that consistency should be maintained. Time management in the sense we have to manage our time and we have to give less time for easy questions, and we have to utilize the same time which are remaining for tough questions, so that we can achieve more number of questions while time managing our time. Conceptual clarity, we should have concept clarity and application of each concept and how it will be applied, and that is very important in conceptual clarity, and by all these things we can achieve success to aptitude. The next thing is here are the few tips to solve aptitude problems. Initially we should have concept clarity on percentages, numbers, and the relationship between these two things in order to improve our calculation skills, and we have to improve the number skills, and these are the qualities we should be having. Second thing is by looking at the options we should identify or we should justify this is the correct answer, so that again we can manage our time, and that time will be utilized for tough questions, and this makes to attend more number of questions, and thus we have to eliminate 3 wrong options and we have to select the correct option by looking at the option. If this is possible we can make it out. And while solving aptitude we should have a pen, eraser, and an highlighter, and we should make a note on easy questions, tricky questions, and tough questions. Easy questions do not require revision, whereas tricky questions revision will be required once in a week, while tougher sections will be attended later, and this is how we have to practice aptitude, and we have to practice a lot, and we have to take interest, and we have to enjoy solving aptitude questions. And next is we have to develop problem solving attitude, like we have to solve more number of problems on logical reasoning, and we have to apply more common sense in solving aptitude. And next is we have to solve more number of puzzles and brain teasers, which helps in sharpness and speed, and also which increases our concentration, speed of eyesight and eye coordination, speed of mind, speed of thinking and analysis, speed of retention, recall, and memory. And the last thing is we have to solve more number of problems and series, coding and decoding problems. And one thing we should remember, if our eye can solve a problem, we should not go for any calculations, or by seeing an option we can answer, means we should save time, and this is how we can manage time and we can achieve the success in aptitude. In data sufficiency type problem, there will be a question given, there will be a question, and also there will be 2 statements, that is it will be numbered 1 and 2, and looking at the statements we have to answer whether either the statements, both the statements, one of the statements are sufficient to solve the problem. And keep that in your mind, in data sufficiency problem it can be extended to any sort of problem, either it can be extended to any concept in aptitude, it can be extended to percentages, it can be extended to train problems, and in those type of problems they do not require us to answer the question. They'll just ask either the statements or one of the statements or neither the statements are sufficient to solve the problems, and this is how it will be extended. And in solving this we have to read both the statements and we have to justify which option is correct. And this type of problems will be having 5 options. Option A is statement 1 is sufficient while statement 2 is not sufficient. Option B is statement 2 alone is sufficient while statement 1 is not sufficient. Option C is either the statements are sufficient. Option D is neither the statements are sufficient. Option E is both the statements are required or both the statements are sufficient to answer the question. And this is how the success to data sufficiency problems can be achieved. Now moving on to the problem. The problem question states that in which year was Rahul born? And for this question there are two statements. Rahul at present is 25 years younger to his mother. Rahul's brother who was born in 1964, they are mentioning the year, is 35 years younger to his mother. And now looking at the options, option A is statement alone is sufficient while statement 2 alone is not sufficient. Option B is statement 2 alone is sufficient while statement 1 is not sufficient. Option C is either the statements are sufficient. Option D is neither the statements are sufficient. And option E is both the statements are sufficient. In this type of problem, that is data sufficiency problem, they are not going to ask us to solve the problem. Here we need to just justify which of the statements are required to solve the questions. Now coming to this question, they are comparing their age to their mother. Rahul, if I placed mother over here, Rahul is 25 years younger to his mother and his brother is 35 years younger to his mother. So the age difference between Rahul and his brother is 10 years. So his brother was born on 1964. So obviously Rahul will be born on 1954. And hence in this question both the statements are required or both the statements are sufficient to solve the problem, and that option is option E. Both the statements 1 and 2 are sufficient to solve the problem. And this is the explanation regarding the question which I have already done. And let's move on to the next problem. In this problem, how many children does M have? And the statements are H is the only daughter of X who is the wife of M. So M and X are husband and wife and the daughter is H. And the statement 2 is K and J are brothers of M. So the options are same as that of previous problem, and here we need to justify which of the statements are sufficient to solve the problem. And just look at this, how many children, they are asking in more number. So in statement 1 it is clearly mentioning that H is the only daughter of X and M. M and X have only one daughter, and that doesn't tells us that they don't have any son. And in statement 2 K and J are brothers of M, and this statement is not sufficient, and hence the option will be option D. Neither the statement 1 nor 2 are sufficient in order to solve the given question. And this is the explanation over here. And let's move on to the next question. Who among P, Q, T, V and M is exactly in the middle when they are arranged in ascending order of their heights? This is the question. And the statements are V is taller than Q but shorter than M. T is taller than Q and M but shorter than P. Let's look at the options. Options is same as like previous problems, and here we need to justify which of the options or which of the statements are sufficient to solve the problem. In this question, since we have to know all the letters heights, and hence both the statements are required, both the statements are sufficient to solve the problem. So option E, both the statements 1 and 2 are sufficient. And now let's look upon how it will be solved for additional information. From statement 1 we have V is taller than Q. V is greater than Q. Greater in the sense taller. V is taller than Q, but shorter than M. V is shorter than M. So M is taller than V and V is taller than Q. From statement 2 we have T is taller than Q and also T is taller than M but shorter than P. So P being the taller among all. So on rearranging this, we get M will be in the middle. Now moving on to the third problem. What is the length of the train what is the length of the running train crossing another 180 meter long train running in opposite direction? And the statements are: the relative speed of the two trains is 150 kmph and the train took 9 seconds to cross each other. From previous session we have learnt about problem solving on the trains. In that we have basically seen the formula to solve a train is speed is equal to distance by time taken. Please keep that in your mind. We should have conceptual clarities to solve data sufficiency problem. If we know the concept, we can easily attempt this type of questions. They do not ask us to find the solution. They just ask us to justify which of the statements are required to solve the problem. And please keep that in your mind. Data sufficiency problems can be extended to percentages, ratio proportions, or any of the problem, and they'll tell the question and they'll prescribe the statements and you have to justify which of the statements are enough to solve the questions. And coming to this question, we know the formula: speed is equal to distance by time taken, and these are the options similar to the previous problems. And solving to this problem, we need speed and we need time, and distance being unknown. So speed is equal to distance by time, and hence both the statements are compulsorily required in order to solve the problem. And hence the option E, both the statements 1 or 2 are necessary to solve the problems. And this is the solution which indicates. Now moving on to the next problem, it is: the last Sunday of March 2006 fell on which date? The last Sunday of 2006 fell on which date? And clearly you should be knowing what are the days in corresponding month. So in March there are 31 days. So now moving on to the statements. The first Sunday of that month fell on 5th. The first Sunday and its date is 5th. So 5 plus 7 it is 12, 12 plus 7 it is 19, and 19 plus 7 it is 26. So 26 is the last Sunday of March 2006. So by looking at the statement 1, I answered the question. Now I'll see the statement 2. The last day of that month was Friday. So the 31st March was Friday. So previously, going back to the Sunday, the date will be 26. So by using statement 2 also, I answered the question, and hence I can conclude that either the statements are sufficient to solve the problem. Therefore option C is the correct answer. Option C is the correct answer. That is, either the statements 1 or 2 is sufficient. And this is the description for your reference. And now let's move on to the next problem. It is: what is the color code? What is the code for sky in the code language? See, in this problem, the problem has been extended to coding and decoding, and the statements are: in the code language, sky is clearly written as D, Ra, Fa. In the same code language, make it clear is written as D ga jo, and the option being the same as previous problems. And now we have to justify whether which of the options are suits the question, that is which of the statements are justifying the questions. And it is clear that clear is the only word which has been coded in both the statements, and this becomes uncertainty to solve the problem, and hence option D is the right answer. Neither the statements 1 nor 2 are sufficient to solve the problem, and this is the solution part. Thank you.